Hey guys, welcome to another video. And in this video, I wanted to talk about how if she says she's not ready for a relationship, believe her. And this was a video, I came up with this idea because a while back, I remember talking to one of my buddies and he was seeing this girl and he wanted to make things official, but she kept saying that she wasn't ready for a relationship. And what I want to tell you guys is, especially when you know you have good intentions, when you know you could be really good for a person, it gets easy to hold on in that situation. It gets easy to convince yourself that, oh no, she just might need a few more months. She might need a little more time to decide. By the way, like her last relationship didn't end too well and she's really skeptical. And the more that we try to justify these things, the more we catch ourselves in this loop, in this recurring loop of, okay, now she said she wasn't ready for a relationship. So what does that look like? Does that look like you waiting even longer? Does that look like you waiting a little bit and then asking again after a week, after 3 weeks? And then the problem is, what happens if she's still not ready after 3 weeks, after 3 months? Now it just looks weird because now it looks like you've just had to ask the question numerous times of whether she's ready or not ready. And so it gets to a point where eventually you start to look desperate. And when you're a good man, when you have good intentions, it gets easy to want a relationship more than the other person wants that relationship. And this is where like I've been there numerous times where you you might be seeing a girl or maybe you've gone on a few dates with her and out of nowhere she'll just ghost you for like a few weeks or whatever, and then or a few days and hit you up and be like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, I've just been really busy. And because you really want to be in a relationship with this person, you give her the benefit of the doubt. Oh yeah, she did have exams or whatever the case may be. And I remember one of my buddies had put it to me this way. He was like, because I remember telling him about this one situation one time. He was like, well, think about it like this: if a celebrity, if Travis Scott texted her, would she leave him on red for 2 weeks? Or if that was her mom that had texted her or her dad or they needed something, even though yes, it might be true that she had finals or that work has been busy, would she not respond for 2 weeks if that was the case? And when he said that, it really allowed me to evaluate it from a more realistic point of view where you can still be a good man, you can still have the best intentions, but sometimes you have to know when to walk away. You have to know when, okay, this is getting past the point of me holding on and being optimistic. Now this is just me being delusional, essentially. Because when you're sure of what you have to offer somebody, you shouldn't be caught in this cycle of trying to oversell yourself. When you're in your purpose, when you're doing what you need to do, when you're ambitious, loving, caring, empathetic, you shouldn't feel the need to oversell yourself to anybody in that sense. And you get to a point where when you're dating, when you're trying to figure out, who you're going to marry and be with, you need to understand that, okay, she's giving me these signs, she must not be the one for me. And then you have to move on, because the longer that you spend in this situationship, essentially, the longer you're delaying yourself from meeting the person that God has for you. And this is the cycle that so many of us get caught up on, because then it'll get to a point where if you stay for another 2 months or 3 months, you'll almost feel like you have to stay because you've invested a decent amount of time into it. And what ends up happening is we tell ourselves this, and then we stay in that situation even though we know that we shouldn't. And we just convince ourselves that, oh no, like one day, they'll come around, or oh, we're still like hanging out and things are still really really, good, and we're still having a ton of fun together. Maybe one day she'll come around and understand the value that I provide. And I can assure you that if things have been going well and she still doesn't see the value, the likelihood of her seeing that over the long haul is extremely slim. And so I wanted to make this video to encourage you guys to not waste your time in these kinds of situationships. Because this guy that I watch all the time, Myron Golden, has this saying that's so real. And he goes, tell me yes or tell me no, but tell me now, I gotta go. And this is basically how he talks about selling, where if eventually, like even when you're dating, you're gonna have people that'll reject you, people that aren't interested in you. Just like when you're selling, you'll have people that are interested in your product and people that aren't interested in your product. But you can't allow yourself to get so fixated on one person that even though they've told you no numerous times, you're trying to convince them. Because in business, just like in life, you could have the perfect product for somebody, you could be the perfect person for somebody, but if they don't see the value in it, you're wasting your time by trying to convince them. It doesn't mean that the product that you have is bad. It doesn't mean that you as a person are bad. It just means that someone is in a position where they can't really appreciate all that you have to offer. And if that's the case, you're better off leaving and saving your time and your energy for the person that will appreciate it. Because if you're trying to sell something to someone and you have to convince them and they tell you no 17 times and you're trying to still convince them, you're wasting your time. At that point, you could have moved on and found someone else that instantly heard your pitch or met you and was like, okay, boom, yeah, I want to get that, let's go. Same thing with dating. Like my wife and we both knew on our first date that we were the one for each other. And this was something that I thought you only heard of in the movies. I thought it was only in movies where it's like, okay, someone meets someone and pretty much the first date knows that they want to date them and that they see something in that person. Because in the past, it's like you get so used to going on numerous dates with someone and then you're almost like trying to convince yourself that that person is the one for you just because they agreed to go on a date with you or just because they're giving you that time of day that another girl might not have given you. And so it gets so easy to think in terms of scarcity. When it comes to a girl telling you that she doesn't want a relationship, you stay, you keep seeing her, you keep texting her because you're like, oh, well, she's pretty and I might not find another pretty girl. Or, oh, well, she's funny and she's really easy to talk to and I might not meet another girl like that. Oftentimes, this mindset comes from scarcity. And at the end of the day, we were never created to have this mindset of scarcity. We were never created to operate from this mindset of scarcity because ultimately God created us for ourselves and God created us to not look at someone and have to force our way into their lives. Because when you think about it, when you think about who you are as a person and all that you have to offer, you should never have to oversell yourself to somebody because God created you to be who you are and God created them to be who they are. And so sometimes just because you think that you're a perfect fit for somebody, it doesn't mean that they feel the same way about you. And there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It doesn't mean anything. It's just sometimes we might think we're perfect for someone, but that person doesn't feel that way. And because of that, that means that we're not the person for them. And that the person that, that God has for them, they'll meet at some other point in time. But you have to just become comfortable accepting the fact that, okay, this person is going to meet their person, I hope, and it's not me. And we have to not look at that as rejection because oftentimes the way that I look at rejection is it's God's protection. So if you feel like you're trying to get with a girl and she's not on the same page, that's okay. You just saved yourself some time down the road. And that's why it's so important to date with intention. Because when you're dating with intention, you allow yourselves to meet women that are genuinely interested in you. And if a woman isn't interested in you, to move on so that way you can meet somebody who is interested in you. And you're not just dating women based on their physical appearance, but you're dating women with the intention of getting to know them and getting to know their heart. And so I hope that this video benefited you guys. If you stayed for the entire time, I really appreciate you guys. I hope that You guys can like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with someone who might benefit from it. But if you guys are also single and kind of struggling with your self-confidence, you're kind of getting impatient, I wrote this ebook and the link to it is in the description, and it's called Already Chosen: How to Stop Chasing and How to Start Believing. And basically I wrote this ebook for anybody who's struggling in this season of life right now, because I know that that was me for the longest time, where my confidence just wasn't there. And so I wanted to write this ebook for anyone in that phase of life right now, and I linked it in the description below. And I hope that you guys check that out and that it benefits you guys. But I'll talk to all of you guys in the next video.